everyone, this is Daniel Gray, and welcome to the Discover Leadership Podcast, where I'll be interviewing some of today's leaders, best-selling authors, pastors, preachers, and entrepreneurs. Each conversation is designed to help us discover how we can become better leaders today. Hey everyone, welcome to the Discover Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Gray, and on today's episode, I'm talking with Bishop Dale Bronner. Bishop Bronner is the founder and senior pastor of Word of Faith Family Worship Cathedral, an interdenominational ministry founded in 1991. Thriving with more than 19,000 members, many regard Bishop Bronner as a leader's leader. Consequently, he is a much sought-after speaker and leadership trainer whose travels have taken him around the world. He is an accomplished author with several books to his credit. Bishop Bronner's message reaches millions daily through his international multimedia broadcast. Bishop, thank you for taking the time to do this. I'm so honored to have you on the show.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here. So delighted to be able to share with you today.
Awesome. Well, Bishop, you know, I have over the years just come to you several times just seeking advice and counsel, and you've always just been so generous. And so I know this is going to be an incredible show as I get to ask you some questions today.
Okay. Excellent.
Bishop, I know you travel internationally a lot. Over the times I've had the opportunity to sit down and spend some time with you. You're always talking about different areas of the world that you're going to or you have been to. And so since I know you travel so much, I'm always curious to know, what was the last country you were in besides here in the States?
Oh, I just got back from Spain, actually.
That's awesome.
So, and prior to that, it was Dubai, speaking to a group of apostolic leaders from about 5 different continents around the world.
Wow.
They're sharing with them about principles of how the marketplace connects to the kingdom of God. So we had an incredible meeting there in Dubai.
That's awesome. And was Spain ministry as well, or was that just taking some vacay?
Spain was a little a vacation. So for my wife and I, so we had a wonderful time. You know, to me, I call that ministry at home. It is just as important to take care of the affairs on the home front of nurturing your marriage, nurturing your familial relationships, because we have to safeguard that, because those become major points of demonic attack. So I've always lived by that motto that my dad had in his own heart, that no amount of success can compensate for failure at home. So that's a part of success to me. To have public success and private failure is failure. So I believe very strongly in nurturing and ministering to the familial relationships that we have right in our home, because that's where the light of Christ really shines best. The home is the first institution of learning. If we can get things right in the home, we won't have to try to fix so much in the schools and in the society and in the marketplace. That's where real character is learned. That's where dependence upon God is learned. That's where faith and evangelism is learned right in the family. My evangelistic call came when I started ministering and reaching my own 5 brothers right in my own house. And then it spread to my neighborhood. So, you know, that's why my ministry was born. Wow. In 1976 in my own home.
That's amazing, Bishop. Well, I mean, just listening to you just talk about how important family is, and taking that time just kind of reminds me of something that has really stuck out to me as I've had the opportunity to get to know you over the years. And I see your whole family, it seems, it attracts success and excellence. And I'm speaking, of course, because I know about obviously what you've been able to do in the kingdom and around the world with Word of Faith, the church there, and your media ministry, but also your family's impact from your father and your brothers, and with Bronner Brothers, and how incredibly huge that business is that's connected to your family, and your name is just so, it's known here in the Atlanta area especially, and really around the world. So with all that success, one of the things, I'm glad you talked about family, I've noticed as well, is how that's trickled down, and your twin daughters were something like dual valedictorians or something like that, right?
They were double valedictorians, absolutely.
That's amazing. So I see this education and importance that you put on it with you have a doctorate, your wife, Dr. Nina, having her doctorate, your children being successful and doing what they're doing in school so well. I wanted to say, okay, so me and my generation are listening to you intently right now because we want to know what can we, there's something that you're doing right there. What can we begin to do that's something that we're doing right now so that we can attract that success that it seems like your family has attracted?
Well, so much of it is, in my opinion, a part of just the grace of God in a huge way. And I don't want to over spiritualize it. I do believe, for example, that, formal education, if you get a good formal education, it'll make you a good living. But to be self-educated, you'll make a fortune. The people that become lifelong learners, some of our most powerfully successful business people didn't even go to the formal institutions of academia, and yet they are incredibly wealthy people because they were self-educated. It didn't mean that they didn't have the help of anyone else, but it meant that they went out, they found mentors. It meant that they read books on their own. And so that's one of the powerful keys. But education can't help you until you first have direction in your life. Direction is more important than speed. Knowing where I'm trying to go. Until I know where I'm trying to go, I don't know what kind of education I need. So direction is key. Direction. Because if I don't have direction, I'm going to suffer from indecision. And indecision creates inaction. If I know my direction, I've got to be able to put my finger in the air and feel which direction the wind is blowing. Where do I sense that God is leading me? What is the new direction of where God is moving? He's a moving entity. He's not static. He's dynamic. He's moving. So our first order of the day is to discern the direction of God so we know how to prepare for what he's calling us to do. Because if he's calling us to be a plumber, and we need good plumbers. One of the best things, I wouldn't, expect a person to go and get a doctorate in some kind of mechanical engineering to be a plumber. They should probably go and be an apprentice under a master plumber and learn the business side of it from somebody who's already got it going, and learn the mechanics of actually fixing things, new technology that could possibly be coming in that way. So again, until you know the direction, we are immobilized because indecision creates inaction. And then once direction is determined, then it's about alignment. How do I align my values, my beliefs, my attitudes, all of that in line with my direction of where I am going? How do I align my behaviors, what I am doing on a daily basis? Because remember, again, the principle is that the secret of success is always found in the daily routine. Whatever your daily routine is, that's going to prophesy where you're going to be 5 or 10 years down the road. So it gives us a tremendous advantage just to be able to know and to discern direction, and then to align our beliefs, our behaviors, our connections in terms of relationships. It should be aligned, because if you ever thought about a water hose, if you clamped a water hose, although there was water flowing through it, if you clamp it down, then the water automatically stops flowing. But if you ever straighten the hose, now there is an alignment with the flow, and you don't have to press any special buttons in order to get the flow of the water through it. You just bring the hose into alignment. That's what it's like, finding the direction and then aligning your beliefs, your behaviors, your values, and your relationships in line with the direction that we sense that God is calling in our life, whether in business, whether in ministry, whether it's in education. We have to sense the alignment. And the third thing that I'd say, direction first, alignment second, and the third thing, commitment. It's got to be a commitment with your heart, a commitment with your head, a commitment with your hands, with all that we have going on in us. It has to be a commitment to the process, because anybody can put the dream out there. Yeah. But it takes discipline. It takes discipline to keep your hand to it when you don't see immediate results. Mm-hmm. Because so many people can so easily become discouraged because things didn't happen as rapidly as they thought that they would happen. And even looking at the lives of other successful people, what they generally don't see and hear is the frustration, all of the longevity of how long it took, because real success never happens overnight. It only happens over time. It might look like it's overnight, only because we didn't suffer through it. So it looks more instantaneous. So that's why there has to be a commitment to the process. It has to be a commitment through the discipline of saying, you know what, I'm not seeing any results right now, but I'm going to stay faithful to what I've been called to do until I see the results, because I know that I'm doing the right things. I'm putting the hammer to the marble because I know that the image is locked inside of the hunk of the marble. Mm-hmm. And if I keep striking at the right angle, if I've got my direction, and if I am committed to this thing, if I align my hammer up with where I need to strike in order to break off the pieces that are irrelevant to the image that I am trying to unveil, that's locked into the hunk of marble. That's what I'm trying to do. And now, once I've got the direction, once I've got the alignment of the hammer, I've got to keep striking until I break that marble. And you can strike that marble in the same place sometimes 100 times, and then the 101st blow is what breaks it off. And it looked like one blow broke it, but it was the 100 that preceded it that loosened everything up and got it ready and ripe. And so sometimes when we don't see anything happening, that's what those blows are doing. It's almost like, I don't know whether you've ever tried to open a jar of something that was just really hard to open. Oh, yeah. And you couldn't open it. You hand it to someone else, and then they just opened it the first try. And it's like, well, I loosened it for you. Right. Well, that's what's happening. And so when we have that direction and the alignment and then the commitment, those three elements can become a winning combination to help a person to be advanced into becoming who and what they are destined to be.
That's amazing. That's amazing, Bishop. I want to, I'm thinking as you're saying that, so many, of my, I guess, friends and contemporaries and that are kind of in my season, I guess you could say, leaders that are around me in my same season. Many of us, we have great ideas and great vision, and usually the preachers and the pastors we're the most zealous leaders, and usually young leaders, especially, we have all these ideas and vision and passion and dreams from God, but a lot of times, you're right, we don't keep the consistency. We don't keeping those blows coming until that 101st one that makes all the difference. So let me ask maybe a practical question with that for those who are listening. For us, I guess we want to know, you mentioned having a routine. Are there things in your life maybe that you've done in the past or even in the present that are things that helped you in your routine that you did every day?
Well, my natural personality is very, very methodical. I'm a very, very consistent person naturally. So you see that. I wouldn't know how to speak directly to the challenge of somebody who might suffer with ADD, for example. But the first thing that I would say is put it in writing. I mean, put it in writing. A goal is not a goal until it's written. It's got to be in writing. We write the vision, and read the vision, and then run with the vision. And most visionaries, they just see things. They barely take the time to write it because they don't feel like they need to write it because they see it. We have to write it to help others who didn't see it understand it. So, and the writing is also to encourage us and to remind us of what God originally put in our hearts when it has taken longer than what we think that it should take. That's why it's necessary to write it so that it helps us to stay focused. Because again, the principle is this, that the areas of your focus are the areas of your reward, and the areas of your neglect are the areas of your pain. It is true with your finances. If you neglect your finances, you'll have pain in your finances. If you neglect your health of your body, if you neglect exercising, you will suffer in your body, because the areas of your neglect are the areas of your pain. But the areas of your focus are the areas of your reward. So it is minimizing the distractions in our day. I would say to a person, if you really want to be a person of accomplishment, don't get up in the morning and read your emails or direct messages the first thing, because now you allow what is the priority of someone else to become your priority for the day, and then what you had prioritized gets pushed way down and generally won't get done. And then we've gone through a list of emails and particular inbox messages and feeling a sense of accomplishment because we responded to this, we checked this off, we checked that off, but it wasn't productive toward our own goals and vision and what we are called to do. So minimize the distractions. Minimize the distractions. Set a time, maybe 3 times over the course of the day, and limit the time that is given to it to say, you know what, I'm going to check my email not when I first wake up in the morning. I'm going to do some other things to get myself prepared for the day. And I say this as a principle. Never start a day until you have it finished. In other words, plan the day the night before, at least. The night before. So you don't wake up in the morning scratching your head saying, hey, what am I going to do today? You start that day already off knowing your direction. Half the battle is already won. You know, Charles Kettering said, a problem well defined is a problem half solved. So just defining what needs to be done is half of the battle. To say, this is what I need to get done today. When you wake up in the morning, not trying to figure out and say, hey, let me see what I'm going to do today, but having clarity in your mind. Because again, the areas of your focus are the areas of your reward. It's the principle here. If you're persistent, you'll get it.
Yes.
If you're consistent, you'll keep it.
Yes.
And if you're grateful, you will attract more of it. So it's a constant process of actually staying focused and monitoring, censoring the distractions through the digital world, particularly, that come into your life on a daily basis. We have to minimize those distractions so that we can focus. Focus produces intensity and power. Yes. Whatever you focus on will always get stronger. Whatever you focus on will develop. You focus on your health, it'll get better. You focus on finances, it will get better. You focus on scriptural memorization, it will get better. You focus on marketing, it will get better. You focus on your network of partners and friends, it will get better. Whatever you focus on will get stronger. So it's taking the discipline to say, how much do I want this? And reminding yourself of that. Keeping that before your eyes. Passion is the thing that helps us to be disciplined. But remember, the word passion literally means pain. And it is to say to us that the thing that you are most passionate about will oftentimes give you the most pain in your life.
Wow.
The passion of Christ is the pain of Christ.
Yes.
It is his pain. When you love somebody, it pains you. You're never hurt by anybody that you don't care anything about.
Right.
Passion equals pain. And so your passion, whatever you're passionate about in your life, if you see somebody else do it poorly, it pains you. I mean, I found musical people, and if they hear somebody play a wrong note or singing in the wrong key or playing in the wrong key, it irks them. It really it pains them to hear it, to listen to it. If a person has a gift of organization, and then they come into somebody's workspace and it's cluttered, it pains them. Because their gift is organization. Their passion is organization. And so whatever your passion is, also produces your pain. If somebody is graced of God to be a mother, to be a father, your greatest pain will come with your children. So
Yeah. Right.
if you're called to be a husband or wife, that's where you'll find your pain.
Mm-hmm.
But pain is a motivating power. It can empower us and thrust us into areas that we never would go into if we didn't have it. So as a leader, leaders must realize pain goes with the territory. You don't ask for the pain to be lessened. You ask God, show me how I can increase my tolerance for pain, because God can take you no higher in this life than your ability to withstand the pain of the pressure of being at higher levels.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to increase our pain tolerance.
Wow.
Because leading at higher levels costs us a different level of pain. I've been to some places. One of the places that I've been to was down in the country of Bolivia, and it was one of the highest elevations that I'd ever been, nearly 3 miles high. And you're talking about altitude sickness. If you're going to be high, that's a shortage of oxygen, and then there's just constant pressure that gives you a low-grade headache all the time. And being at that higher level, there's a price that you pay. I watched it. It was so strenuous on me. I had to send for an oxygen tank to be brought to my room because of the pressure of being at that level.
Wow.
And it takes, though, 3-4 weeks for acclimatization to happen so that the body builds up sufficient levels of hemoglobin in the bloodstream to oxygenate the body. So it takes a while, but it pains you while your body is getting acclimated to new levels. And if you say, God, take away the pain, he's going to have to lower you.
Wow.
So that's not the thing. You either ask God, Lord, reduce the size of my vision or increase the tolerance of my pain. Because when God gives you a big vision, pain will be a part of the process.
Wow, Bishop, that's so good. I think a lot of young leaders at times we feel like it's going to be easy because we just get to see so many of you, those who have gone before us, in your winning season. That's the way I view it anyway. We didn't see the grind. We didn't see the things that you had to walk through. We didn't see, I think about someone who's a mutual relationship for both of us, Bishop Jakes. We didn't see Bishop Jakes when he was preaching in the storefront, but he was preaching just as good as he does now. We saw him in his winning season, but no one saw when he was, he was cooking just to be able to make it. And what would you say? I mean, we're in a culture where everything is so fast, everything's so quick, and there are apps for everything and just quick fixes, and you just pay this and get this now. And to many in my generation, we feel like we should be able to get it fast because we get everything else so fast. Is there anything you think you could say to those of us that want it now? We really feel like God promised it to us, or whether or not we feel like it was from God. Maybe it's just a business plan that some of our listeners have. Many who listen to this podcast are not even in ministry, but they're young entrepreneurs. For those of us who have these big ideas and big dreams, and I feel like that's kind of been the focus of this show is those of us who have ideas and vision and dreams, how do we actually put it into action so it becomes success? And you talked about the secret of success, for you was consistency and being consistent and having that routine. So I know I'm kind of rambling all over the place a little bit, so let me kind of land the plane of what I want you to speak to if you can. For those of us who want it quick, and those of us who are, let's just be real, those of us who are sometimes discouraged in the in-between, what would you say to encourage those who are in the middle, but they're not winning yet. They're just there. And many of them, they feel like they've just been kind of spinning their wheels. I talked to a leader just the other day who told me that he started this project a year ago, and that he was encouraged and he was ready and he was excited. But after a year of working on it, he's ready to give up on it. And I had to remind him, like, no, this whole year has not been a waste because it didn't explode the way you thought it would. This has all been great. And I had to remind him, this is good. This is great content. You need to hang on to this and continue to work on this. So what would you say to those of us who just get discouraged in the process?
I would say that they need to pull back to recalibrate and to get perspective. Because attitude and feeling is all based on perspective. Just think, we here in America are a blessed nation. I've been to other places around the world where the average annual income is $250 a year. Other places, $500 a year. I've been to some places where the average income is $300 per month. And then think about where we are in America. It's about perspective, and this is why we have to just be still and know that He is God. To just allow God to recalibrate us, because most of the times what we are disappointed over is a wrong expectation. Remember, see, there is reality and then there is the dream. Disappointment is the distance between your reality and your dream. That's disappointment.
Yeah.
So the greater your level of expectation in your reality, the lower the disappointment. So, for example, if you know, if you planted an apple tree, for example, in your backyard, and then 3 months later, you're looking for apples because you can plant a tomato vine and you'll have tomatoes in 3 months.
Yeah.
But not with an apple. An apple tree takes 2 years before it will produce its first apple.
Wow.
And let's say you were shaking the tree and cursing the tree after the first year and say, I've been waiting on you and watering you, fertilizing you for a year, and I don't have any apples. And that's why you pull back, you get the perspective.
Yeah.
I made an investment in a bank years ago, and they told me going in, they said it will take at least 5 years before this bank will turn a profit. And sure enough, that was exactly around the time that it began to turn the profit.
Yeah.
So you need people who have endured to understand the seasons of life, the cycles of life, the pace of life, to know that, and what that does is that it recalibrates our perspective. Now we're not frustrating because we're not expecting in 1 year what may take 3.5 years or 7 years, in order for something to be successful. Because, again, success is never overnight. It's always over time. And it's getting a right perspective of the timing in which this thing can grow. Because one thing is sure, you cannot rush growth.
Yeah.
You cannot rush growth, so no matter how fast a person, if you have a new baby, I've had 5 children, I got 5 grandchildren, and another one on the way. I can't rush their growth. I can't say, would you please just stop just cooing and babbling to me? Would you hurry up and start speaking? Would you hurry and start walking? You cannot rush growth. You have to just realize this is normal behavior for a baby. They are still messing in their diapers, and I'm having to buy diapers, and I'm having to do this. But when I understand that this is the season that I'm in, when I understand that, I also understand that I also have the grace.
Yes.
Because in my earlier days, I had energy and my passion. See, in terms of adjusting and recalibrating that perspective again, it is about realizing that I'm not trying to get to a destination. I'm learning to enjoy the journey.
Yes.
The journey is the thing that gives us the greatest lessons, that prepares us for the ultimate ends of where God is calling us. So I learned to relish in the stage and the season where I was. So you'd be surprised when you are working in the area of your passion. You may not have everything. You may be struggling, and you may not have the kind of money that you want, the kind of time off that you want. You can't afford a sabbatical.
Right.
And at that time, but what I did, I would pray, God, help me to find joy in the journey. Joy in the journey don't make success a certain place in the distant future. It's a daily thing. There's someone that says that do not measure the success of your day by the harvest that you reap, but by the seeds that you sow. And that's where the perspective has to be, that our real perspective of a successful day is not the harvest that we bring in. It's the seeds that we have sown, because that's what secures my future.
Yeah.
That's what will feed me down the road. Is I'm sowing seeds, I'm building relationships, I'm working on the foundation to be able to support the mammoth vision that God has planted in my heart.
Yes.
And that's the power of perspective.
Yes, Bishop, that's so good. Wow, I know that even encourages me where I'm at with some things. It's so important to step back, and you know this more than anyone. For my generation, perspective is so powerful because we see social media in front of us all day long, and as we look at this device showing everyone's highlight reel, we oftentimes compare it, to what's going on in our lives that isn't so, ready for highlights. And so it's good to just take a step back and get perspective. And I think at times, where I err is I try to run too fast and I try to strive. And as one of my good friends recently said as well, that, sometimes God has to remind you to not strive for that, but to just stride. And it's by His grace, and His yoke is easy, His burden is light. And I just think it's incredible to see how God has used you, not just as a pastor, but as a leader's leader. And I just want to say, before I let you get off here, thank you, not just for myself, but on behalf of so many leaders that I know personally you have invested in, and with no strings attached. And I know even for myself, I can speak to the time where you reached out to me and you kind of initiated, opening up yourself to conversation with me. And I got so much wisdom from that conversation when I had the opportunity to meet you years ago. And just on behalf of so many leaders who are going to listen to this, thank you for not just being wise, but for being passionate about pouring that wisdom into our generation.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It is my pleasure. Thank you, and I'm proud of the journey that you're on, and even your willingness to be able to help and to make a difference in the lives of others while you're on the journey.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to let you run. I know you've got plenty to do, but you are incredible, Bishop Bronner. We love you, and I'll talk to you again soon.
Absolutely. It's been my joy.
All right, that's it for this episode. I'll be back soon with more great conversations. If you're enjoying the show, do me a favor and subscribe, rate, and leave a comment on the podcast. Your feedback helps me to connect with you guys, as well as get this content heard by others so that they can discover these great leadership insights from some of the greatest leaders anywhere today. See you next time on Discover Leadership.